It's Wednesday and it's a beautiful sunny day out, but they say it's going down to 3 degrees tonight, and they've canceled church for this evening, Wednesday night. I heard definition of an optimist. It's a fellow that believes that his wife's new laundry detergent has caused all of his pants to shrink. And they tell me that you always ought to borrow from a pessimist because they never expect to get what you borrowed back. Well, while we're thinking about laughter, I have been reading back through Acts chapter 17 through 21, and that was where I spent my time in my devotion today. And I remember there's 3 very funny stories there, and they're quite interesting. You know that the Bible's true because nobody would ever make up stories like this. The first one is the fact that Paul and some of the apostles have been healing and using the name of Jesus. And in chapter 19, verses 11 through 17, some of the exorcists that have been making their money by supposedly driving out demons decided they'd start to use both Jesus and Paul's name to drive out demons. And so we find the sons of Sceva. They are using the name of Paul and Jesus to try to drive a demon out of a man who is possessed. And the man gets up, and the demon speaks from the man that they're trying to relieve from the demons. And the man pounces on them and beats them up, and it says that they ran out of the house naked because the demon says, I know Jesus, I know Paul, but who are you? I'd love to have been there and seen that scene, wouldn't you? People that use the name of Jesus inappropriately. I'd love sometime for them to fall into the same kind of state. It's a very interesting story, chapter 19 and verses 11 through 17. The second one is found in chapter 19, verses 18 through 20. And it's really a beautiful story because as they see the hand of God working through Paul, a whole bunch of magicians and people that have been unscrupulous in their ways, those doing magic and other things, come confessing their sins, come confessing that they're phonies. And there's a book burning. Now, I don't want to get too political, but it seems to me there's a lot of folks that probably have copies of magazines and copies of books that probably ought to be burned. Maybe some records that have foul language in them that ought to be destroyed. I remember one time years ago at Bell Shoals Baptist Church, the youth department had a burning. They talked about the inappropriateness of books and records and tapes and things that the youth might have, and they actually had a bonfire. And here in this particular story in Acts chapter 19, verses 18 through 20, there was 50,000 pieces of silver's worth of books burned. You see, when you sell out to Jesus, the value of trash is nothing, and you don't mind burning it. They never would have done it if they hadn't come to have a personal encounter with Christ. Maybe it's time for some of our young people and some of our full-grown adults to have book burnings, record burnings, and get rid of some of the trash that they have in their house. Magazines, perhaps. And then finally, the third one is in Acts chapter 20. Paul has decided to leave the next day, and he decides to extend his preaching time, and it says he preached all the way to midnight. I've never done that. But it says there's a young man sitting on a windowsill, and he's probably trying to get a breath of fresh air because it says the candles and the lanterns were burning in the upper room on the 3rd floor. And you know how heat rises. So he's sitting on the windowsill, and as he's preaching, my guess is his head was starting to nod. I've seen a few people when I've preached that seem to be nodding in agreement. Then I find out that they're just nodding because they're falling asleep. But nevertheless, Eutychus falls out of the window, and they go down and pick him up, assuming that he's dead. Paul embraces him, brings him back to life, and we know that God can do whatever he wants to do. But these are 3 what I consider humorous now stories that make the Bible so real because it doesn't jot around those things that actually happen, no matter how strange. I hope that you're an optimist, but I hope it's not because you think your wife shrunk all your pants with her new laundry detergent. I hope you're not borrowing from pessimists just so you don't have to pay back the money. But I hope you'll see that God has a sense of humor, and He records all things in the Scriptures to show us that it's true and not just a bunch of fairy tales. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.